Sheila, y'all, I'm wearing shoes.
Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Hey, happy hump day, everybody. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you get your mind right and your money right. Today, we are tackling a hot topic that has been stirring up some serious conversations. Tiffany Haddish, recently made some bold statements about women with, I hate this phrase, but multiple baby daddies, suggesting that they could be mentally ill because of it. She even brought up the concept called fetal microchimerism, claiming it could lead to mental health struggles. But is this something that we should be concerned about, really concerned about, or is this just another way to shame women for their choices? Let's dive in and unpack this. And I am joined by two of the baddest queens in the atmosphere. We got Dr. Felice, the big coach, licensed clinical mental health counselor. And I got two doctors, y'all. Dr. Charm, she's a doctor, she's a comedian, and a psychic medium. We're gonna have to schedule something later. But thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today. So let's get into this topic. And before we do, let's take a look at a video we have with Tiffany Haddish.
Women, and here's my theory, and I could be completely wrong, and the internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think women that have more than two baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're getting genetically modified too much. I think, so this is what I know. Every time you get pregnant, right, there's stem cells that come from that baby, and them stem cells end up behind your eyes and your brain and your heart and your lungs and stuff and help your organs heal while the baby taken from you. And those stem cells will always stay with you, right? So that means that man is always in you. And that is why the Bible says you will only desire your husband. Correct? This is why you got to use condoms, because that baby better get up inside you. And the uterus is very porous, much like the mouth, right? So when anything goes up in there, it automatically, the uterus starts to absorb it. It starts going through the vaginal walls and all that, and the blood, it gets into the bloodstream, right? And so, it takes
get in there.
So it takes like 6 weeks to get a man out of your system if you have unprotected sex, and it's because he's starting to bind to your DNA, right? And that's why it's couples, when they be together too long, they start looking alike. You start looking like him. Wow. Like, it's not, the guy don't start looking like her. She start looking like him, because he is genetically modifying her. And every time you get pregnant by him, you start to get modified, right? So if you get pregnant by multiple peoples, right, that's multiple spirits, multiple thoughts, multiple modifications from a different DNA strand to have mental stress. So, it's very evident, like what I'm saying is very evident and makes sense, because like you got all these dating apps, all these women like free sex, free this, whatever, I'm doing, but I'm living it, I'm exerting my sexuality and all this, and I don't care if I got 5 kids or 5 baby daddies, whatever. Usually those bitches are mentally, they're struggling in so many different ways, not just financially, but also just like on where to focus, how to whatever, because you got too many different bloodlines in your blood.
Too many kids. I mean,
Okay. So, ladies, what is your initial reaction watching that video? Please.
don't know. It's challenging, right? I think it's challenging to hear. But I might even, to say mentally ill, that's big. But I think what she's referring to too, like she takes the extra step in talking about having the babies. Mm-hmm. But what's created for women too are soul ties, right? So it's not just having multiple baby daddies, it's also having multiple sexual partners.
Yes.
Because the man's, you create a soul tie. And so, a lot of women are not recognizing why they're reacting or experiencing certain emotions. Mm-hmm. Because you've attached spiritually, fornication is a spiritual act. Yes. It's not just a physical act. So it goes even deeper. Like, we're talking about just having babies, but, if you're sleeping with multiple men, yeah, attaching yourself spiritually to these men as well, too. So it goes a little deeper than that. But to take it as far as possible mental illness, I don't know. I don't know if I would take it there. Okay. But I would say that exposing yourself, right? Because when a woman gives herself to an individual, 9 times out of 10, it means something to her. Mm-hmm. It means something to her to give herself sexually to a man. So when that relationship doesn't work out, it does something to the woman emotionally. Right. And when she isn't taking care of herself emotionally, she's going to experience and exhibit certain symptoms and behaviors due to that relationship. Yes. Not working out the way she had hoped it would. Exactly. So that's where I'm going to go with that.
And I'm right there with you, because listening to Tiffany speak, I was like, okay, I was picking up some of the stuff she was putting down, but then again, I'm like, okay, this is very scientific. So is that scientifically proven that having this DNA in your body from this male counterpart is causing this, or is this just a theory of hers?
So I totally agree. She was doing both. She was doing spiritual and she was trying to do scientific. And I had to look up the word myself. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of evidence yet to what she's saying. Yes. Scientific. Not that it doesn't necessarily mean it's off, but they haven't done enough study to it to be able to make it sound and to be able to say, yes, that's what's happening.
Yes, yes. Dr. Charm, what was your reaction to that video?
I mean, first, the headline is a little deceiving because I was just kind of like, okay, what is the latest Kool-Aid that Tiffany Haddish has been drinking? Because she always speaks out of pocket. And then I'm kind of like, where did she get her medical degree? But I'm not going to go there. I will correct some of what she's saying. So first off, it's called maternal fetal microchimerism. So,
chimerism?
Right, chimerism. And then basically what's happening is that, she misspoke. She said it happens in all women. It's only 50 to 75%. So we'll say in at least half. That basically, there's a gas exchange, there's blood exchange, nutrient exchange that's taking place between the mother and the fetus. That's ongoing during pregnancy and fetal gestation, or that's when, in layman's terms, when the baby's growing. And so, yes, some of the DNA can migrate to the mother. It can remain in the brain of the mother. But it's bidirectional. So it goes in the direction of the mother from the child, but also from the mother to the child. Mm-hmm. And the mental illness, there is no research that I could find in this quick amount of time that talks about it affecting the mother's mental health. However, there's a 2019 Turkish study that talked about it contributing to schizophrenia in the child. So she, I didn't see anything else so I don't see a basis for her saying that it affects the mother's mental health genetically or physiologically. I can say psychologically, I would agree with that, dealing with multiple children's fathers and multiple male sperm donors and the psychological effect that has. It can cause a lot of stress. Even in Child Protective Services cases in Black homes, usually the reason that children are removed is for child neglect. Mm-hmm. And that's a socioeconomic thing. And when we see these stories in the news about, this happened to this child, I go in the comments and it's so misogynistic, it's so patriarchal. Well, what, the mother wasn't doing what she's supposed to do. The mother, she wasn't. This woman is saddled with 3 and 4 kids, and 3 or 4 different babies. But where is the father? They're supposed to be the provider and the protector. So even if they're not with the woman, where are they? And I was a single mother, and it put a lot of extra stress with her father. Like, we're great friends now, but he had a lot of emotional issues, and I had to bear the brunt of that. And he was, he wasn't a criminal. He wasn't economically, deprived, but I dealt with the psychological of him not getting psychological help for a long time. And it affected our relationship. So I'm a single mother, and I'm dealing with 2 children, even though I birthed 1. So yes just, the broken homes and those kind of things, I think that affects it. And you don't have to have multiple baby daddies. You can just have 1 and go through all of this. And this is
exactly
the case for us getting married. Like, we need to get married, but of course people don't get married until they're financially stable. And because the Black community has so much financial instability, it lowers the marriage rate.
You just said a mouthful there, and we're going to go to commercial, but I have 2 thoughts. I love that you brought about what about the fathers, because obviously these women are not impregnating themselves, right? And I know that we're talking about women right now. And then also you brought up marriage, right? And also this happens within marriages, having emotionally distant and disconnected fathers too. So we'll go to commercial. We'll come right back, and we'll get on the father.
It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Today we are talking about a comment that Tiffany Haddish made about women having babies with multiple daddies and how it can inadvertently possibly cause mental health issues within the woman. So, Dr. Felice, let's real quick talk about men and what role do men play in this conversation, okay? And I'm just taking some notes. And why don't we see the same stereotypes about fathers with children by multiple women? Because that is very prevalent. But it's not looked at the same.
Well, it's going to start with us, right? Like, we have to start raising our sons differently to understand what it means for their mothers, their sisters, their aunties, like all the women in their lives, and be able to change their mindset and thoughts about us, right? And then we got to address the trauma. Somebody mentioned it. We got to address the trauma. A lot of this comes from women, men too, but women experiencing trauma. And what does that mean in the choices that they make?
Yes.
A lot of times they're making choices that they really are trying to get a handle on it. But if they're not getting professional help on how to do that, then you see the trauma in people's choices.
Yes.
And we have got to change the narrative and start having real dialogue with our men. We got to start having real, genuine, grace-laced, non-judgmental, welcoming conversations with our men about what it's like to walk in our shoes, what it's like for them to walk in their shoes, what it's like for us to walk in our shoes, and how do we start changing the narrative about how we engage with one another, how we think about one another, right? And how we treat one another and handle one another. Because at the end of the day, we are all humans. and you have a moral obligation to handle one another accurately and properly, to handle them with care, and to make sure that the people in their lives, they are respected and you give them dignity.
And I totally agree. And you said moral obligation, right? And I feel like in bringing in the fathers and where are the fathers in this conversation, from what I've experienced in seeing, from what I see of other conversations like this that are going on, there is a lack of accountability from the male side as far as moral obligation. Like, I feel like for so long, it's been okay to just plant seeds and leave. And it's been, and all of this has to do with trauma. All of this is trauma responses and just not knowing better, or knowing better and not having the capacity to do better at that moment. But we need to have those conversations about how important it is not to plant seeds and leave.
Right, but that's a societal thing too, right? We have, how do you change the dynamic between men and women? The burden has always fallen on the woman.
Yes.
And because of that reality, we do have to take a more responsible way of how we allow people to handle us. We got to make sure that those men, we got to take them to the health center. Like before, like we going to the health center together. We got to make sure that they are using condoms. We got to have real adult, mature conversations if you believe you're going to be intimate with someone. Because realistically, when you lay down, a baby can possibly enter into that equation.
Yes.
And so we do bear the brunt, and that's societal. So it's a whole thing that we have to revamp when it comes to men and women.
You just said a word there, because it's really about revamping our boundaries. Because when you're saying that, I'm thinking what came up viscerally for me is that historically, when I think about my mom's generation and my grandmother's generation, they weren't able to confidently tell men no. And it was expected of them to provide what men want in order to get a man or a piece of man. That was kind of like the mentality. So I think in having the societal shift, we need to be really revamping what we're teaching our daughters about their boundaries, and that's it. And if someone can't respect your boundary, then, you got to move on. So Dr. Charm, what do you think about this? What do you think? Why can't you just keep your legs closed? Anonymous, welcome. Dr. Charm, what do you think about, how the economic systems and the lack of support structures actually contribute to these family dynamics that we're talking about with?
I mean, we've got post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I do agree with Anonymous in the sense of, I think it's the blame game. Why can't you keep your legs closed? Men, why can't you practice sexual discipline and not, be animalistic? It goes both ways, but we're coming off of, 250 years of slavery, and then, another 100 years of Jim Crow and the other stuff. So the 400 years total. And, the amount of people who were enslaved that were brought over here on the boats was a fraction of what the 4 million enslaved people that we had at the eve of the Civil War. And so how did that population explode like that? Because of these breeding plantations.
Yes.
And, so they, this stuff is ingrained in our genetics, in our DNA, and it's trauma. So that trauma is called epigenetics, and they've studied it extensively in Holocaust victims. So the grandchildren, just the grandchildren, not even the great-grandchildren, the grandchildren of Holocaust victims had genetic changes in their DNA related to the trauma of that grandparent going through the Holocaust. So you imagine however many generations that we endure in slavery, where this is in our body. And so this behavior, this breeding behavior, having children with multiple women, we didn't start out like that. This was learned behavior from a lot of what's gone on. And then also this hypermasculinity, this system, well, you're a man by how many women that you can get. The hip hop music, the negative hip hop music doesn't help at all. Yeah. And then the socioeconomics, like the Black family has been under direct attack with the United States government. The United States government has directly attacked. No other group has been directly attacked like that within this country, but us. We have a unique history. And so they've done everything they can to destabilize our families. And when our families can't stay together, then people have multiple partners. So it's a combination of so many things. And, but what we can do is try to get our finances in order and practice sexual discipline. And men marry the women that you get pregnant. That would help a lot.
Okay. I agree with everything. It's very layered and varied, and it's a tough issue. Let's go to one of our stats that we have. Okay, so for Black women, this figure is significantly higher, with 59%. So 59% of Black women having children by multiple fathers. This rate is more than twice the national average and is notably higher than the rates for Hispanic, 35%, and white, 22%. Wow. 59% of Black women have children with multiple fathers is based on a study by University of Michigan demographer Cassandra Dorius. This study found that among American women with 2 or more children, 28% have them with more than one father. Okay. So 28% of Black women with 2 or more children have more than one father. All right, you know what? We can go to a commercial break. I've got a question on that, and I want to come back to you, Dr. Felice. I want to know what you think about this women's mental health and how it's impacted by this number of these stats when we come back.
I know. You're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. And thank you so much for joining us. In our conversation today, we are talking about a statement that Tiffany Haddish made regarding her thoughts or her theory on whether or not having multiple baby daddies causes women mental illness. Now, Dr. Felice, do you think it's fair to say that women's mental health, do you think it's fair to say that the mental health can be impacted by the number of children she has with multiple fathers or multiple partners?
I would have to get more data, but from a data standpoint that I don't have, I can't agree with that. You know what I mean? I don't have enough data, and I'm just hearing about this term. And so I really wouldn't want to speak to that without the data, but I don't think it's fair yet to say that. Mm-hmm. And are you talking about all the women in there? Because yes, that percentage for us and where we are in the population in the United States, that is a high number. But if you looked at it, 22% of white women are doing it too. Mm-hmm. That's high for them. That's not a small number. Mm-hmm. And so are you saying that women are mentally ill? And then it's apples to oranges too, because if you think about it, one of the things that, Black women really love and are loyal and faithful to Black men. Yes. A lot of our Black men know that about Black women, and they use that as leverage, especially when it is to get women in bed and talking about how they don't like wearing condoms. And so we have got to teach our young girls those boundaries that you were talking about. that if you cannot know and respect my body and my temple with my boundary of a condom, then we can't do this. But a lot of Black women desire the company and the intimacy and the connection with a Black man. And so a lot of times they may not be able or strong enough emotionally to set and to stick to that boundary.
Yes.
So they find themselves in these predicaments. And we have to be able to teach our young girls that it's okay to make peace sometimes with loneliness. Sometimes you got to be lonely for a season.
Yes.
And be able to stand your ground and your boundary because it's just, pregnancy is always available to you if you're not using protection. And even protection is not 100. And so you've got to also know and engage with men who want to go next level with you. So you're going to have to be able to stand your ground with those boundaries and have the patience and the endurance to know you are worthy of somebody taking you all the way down the aisle, right?
Yes.
That's your choice. And so it's all these different things that come into play when it comes to why our women are winding up having these babies with these different men. And also, if you're looking at the socioeconomic status also of these women who are doing this, a lot of times Black women in a lower socioeconomic status, that's the one thing that they're good at. They're good at being able to get pregnant and deliver. And so sometimes it's not because I saw somebody say it's an addiction. It's just something that they're good at. They know that they're good at getting pregnant and being able to deliver.
It's one area where they can find or feel like they have worth or value.
Absolutely.
Yes. And this is the thing, when people say things like just keep your legs closed or just get married, because that doesn't fix the problem either. It's really a human issue, right? And it's layered with all of those things that you just talked about. Like, it again goes back to boundaries. But if you don't have enough self-worth, you won't be able to hold boundaries. If you don't have enough education also, you won't be able to hold boundaries. A lot of times people are just, and women are doing things that they think is right in the moment. And sometimes you don't have the luxury of foresight because sometimes you're in survival mode or maybe you're in an abusive situation, but all kind of things. Dr. Charm, so can a woman's connection to the fathers of her children? No. Okay. So the question is, can a woman's impact to the fathers of her children really impact her mental health long term? But this is something like we really don't know that. This, again, is stacking up to this is a theory scientifically. I believe emotionally, yes. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've already disproven Tiffany Haddish's initial statement. So it's not a genetic, it's not a physiological or anatomical thing that's going on there. Again, the microchimerism contributing to mental illness is only going between the mother and the child, and not the other way around. And so we know that, and it's contributing to one specific mental disorder. And this is one study, and that's, again, schizophrenia. And then there's also, when I was in med school, we learned that if the mother endured malnutrition, that it would increase the risk of schizophrenia in the child also. So malnutrition while she's pregnant. So that's another thing. So that's a whole nother topic of just the health disparities. But I will say that the trauma of having a child with a man who is not in the home for whatever reason, because it affects women, it affects children. If the woman has a contentious relationship with the father and she's not evolved, and if the child looks like the father, reminds you of the father, or reminds her of the father. So then you have these unevolved women who have grown up in traumatic circumstances, and now they are sitting up there and traumatizing their child and being abusive. And you have a lot of men that are coming out of these circumstances where their mother was abusive to them, was emotionally and psychologically abusive to them growing up. And so they come out and then they resent women and turn around and do this to women. So you have all these unhealed, hurt people walking around. Black marriage rate is at 30% now. And so, and we did a show about this a few months ago, talking about, I think by in the next 10, 15 years is expected to go to 17%. That is a crisis. That is a really real and true crisis. And I look at some things with other cultures. For instance, if I see an Indian man, if he's over 30, over 35, he might not have a wedding ring on. That man's married. If he's if he's not married, then he's had a divorce under his belt. But they have at least gotten married by 35 because their culture is like, hey, they do the arranged marriages. We need to find a family. We need to marry you guys together. And so that's how you keep communities together. And our community have been so ripped apart again, like I said, from slavery, but also when you had the loss of a lot of those manufacturing jobs in the inner cities, because a man could work at the Ford Motor Plant and raise a family and buy a home, and his wife may not even have had to work and do all of that on a manufacturing skilled labor type of income. So we've had a lot of attacks that have affected us. But now we really we've got to do some recovery. And it's really, I think, the support groups. I wish Dr. Joe were here. We need to have these male support groups and stop enduring this cycle of trauma and violence, because at the end of the day, it is at this point, it's a disease state and it's contagious. This is a social contagion. And so you're just producing more children. You're doing the same thing and repeating this behavior. And it's a true definition of a generational curse.
I have an interesting question for you, being a psychic medium, right? So how do you feel about the idea of spirits or DNA mixing affecting someone's psychology?
Well, it definitely does. I mean, we have rituals that we do to clear certain specific, because I'm in the hoodoo tradition and also the Ifa tradition. So we actually have rituals that are involved using certain herbs that will cleanse the energies and spirits of people off of you that you have had sexual relations with, because it does create soul ties. And there are spiritual remedies for that that I have done and I have guided clients to do. And so I believe, part of our evolution is that we do need to embrace these traditions that came about during slavery that helped us get through the trauma. People say, "Oh, I don't do that hoodoo stuff." If you put black eyed peas and you cook black eyed peas and greens and cornbread for good luck for the New Year's, you've just practiced hoodoo. Okay. And so we really need to get back to some of these things that help spiritually heal us. I mean, I had an issue, and when I got initiated into E5, it literally went away. Like no therapy could help it. No, by the act of me taking my initiation, and I didn't even go there I didn't get the initiation for that purpose, but it was because it put me in a state of healing. That was the issue, and it went away. And you have the mental health side, but you've got to put it with the spiritual side, because we are not just mental beings. We're spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I dig that. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to go to commercial and we will be right back.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Dr. Felice, so I have a question and then we're going to go to a stat, but I have this question. So how much, since we're inundated now with podcasts and clips on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and just social media about everyone's opinion on everything from ice to bread. Okay. And so how much do you think that the media influences the way that women are now perceived? Women with multiple children are now perceived. Multiple children by different fathers.
I think, social media is a blessing and a curse, right? And I think that this generation is so inundated with data upon data. But then there's this thing called wisdom, which is the application of knowledge. So This generation has data, but they don't know what to do with that data, because every time you turn around, there's something else that they've got to consume. But you need time to process that data, and then you need time to figure out what role you want to play and have it played with you, and how you want to apply it. And so you have all these people who just have data, but nobody knows what to do with it. And so what that alone can be overwhelming, can be confusing, contributes to people's anxiety and or depression, and people don't realize it, that the more you start scrolling and you get more data, and then there's somebody who has data on this, and then there's somebody who has data on that, and then you wonder why you don't know what to do with the data that you're consuming.
Causes confusion.
It causes confusion.
Yes.
The spirit. And so what does that do? It's like you don't know what to do. So what you need to do is take fasts. Like, take fast from all of this data collecting and just get still. There's something about just spending time with you. And people in this age right now are afraid to be with themselves.
Yes.
It's time to just get still. And even if you allow what happens in those still moments, because sometimes people want to control that. Like, well, I've got all these thoughts running. That's okay. That's okay. The more you practice getting still, the slower the thoughts will come. And then you'll be able to compartmentalize and put themes and patterns on your thoughts and the way that you've been conditioning yourself to have data run through you and through your mind. And so I just think people need to take some fast sometimes, because I think that all this data is too much.
But
and
how do you think it impacts the women who are seeing these things, seeing these videos, and talking about their scenario?
Well,
and I have 3 children with 2.
It normalizes it, right? It gives it some kind of normalcy to know, right? Because that's what social media does for people. It allows them to know that they're not alone in their journeys. But a lot of the data that they're getting is not necessarily accurate. So though it's normalizing certain things and helping women to feel like, well, it's a blessing times to know, okay, well, I'm not alone. Yeah, but what does that mean for you? Like, yeah, you're not alone, but what are you going to do? Because not just because they're normalizing it doesn't mean that works for you. Like, just because you now know that you're a part of a tribe of women who are having all these babies by different fathers.
Right.
Ma'am, you're struggling. You're struggling in so many areas. And so you got to kind of step aside from this world and figure out, is this working for me? And what does it mean for me? Why am I feeling all these different emotions? Why can't I get it together? Why can't I reel it in? So you might need to get some professional help to help you to be able to slow down and figure out what you need to do for you. What's going to be best for you? And these babies that are here, and how are you going to start making lemonade? Because the reality is that you made these choices. You can't go back, but you can do something about your now, and you can make better choices about your now and your future. So what's going to be best for you? How do we help you to heal and make better choices so that you now show up better, not only for yourself, but for the family that you've created?
I love that. All right, let's check out another stat we have. And come back and we'll chat. Okay, a study found that 72% of women with children from multiple fathers report experiencing high levels of stress. This stress is often the result of financial strain, lack of support, and challenges in co-parenting. Women with multiple children from different fathers often experience social stigma, which contributes to higher rates of depression, anxiety, and feelings of isolation. Research shows that 67% of single mothers report feeling stigmatized by society, which can affect their mental health. Dr. Charm, so how do we go about shifting the narrative around, I can't stand this phrase, baby mama, or women with multiple children by multiple different fathers, whatever, to make it less about judgment and more about understanding?
I mean, I definitely experienced social stigma from having a baby out of wedlock. I remember one of one of my elder cousins, if she was, she was like a second cousin, but she was like my grandmother's age. And I remember I called her about something when I got pregnant, because I got pregnant, it's my last year of college. And I literally was 9 months pregnant when I was going to get my diploma. So they had to help me across the stage. And so, and so people were like, oh my gosh, she's gotten pregnant. She wants to go to medical school. She wants to do that. Where'd you go? And I remember a family member said, well, you should have thought about that before you had that baby. And I just thought, I said, so you'd rather me go and abort my child and kill my child? I mean, for people who have abortions, I'm not judging them, but that just wasn't my path. And there was a level of shame that I felt. And I was happy. I was ecstatic to become a mother. I mean, it was the most wonderful thing. I never thought I was having to do it without a husband, but I enjoyed every last freaking minute of it. And my child just graduated college. She just got her bachelor's degree, magna cum laude from Dillon University just 2 months ago. And so, me and her dad, like I said, we were at odds. But now, I took his hand and I said, we did it. And we watched her cross that stage. And so we have to support people. These children are here now. So what are you going to do? But what we can do is get mental health help for women because a lot of it is low self-esteem. If you sleeping with a different man because he makes you feel loved, it makes you feel supported in that moment, it's really looking for love. And then also, a lot of these women have narcissistic parents. So when you're the child of a narcissistic parent, they will have a baby to have somebody to love them because they didn't get the love from the parent. And that's a book I have called the children of narcissistic parents. And it's a real thing. So we really got to get to the root of addressing this trauma. And then for the men, you've got to have mental issues to impregnate all these different women. That's a mental health issue. It is sexual discipline, but that's a mental health issue. So what is it about you do you feel power when you're able to get a woman pregnant or have her dependent on you in that way? Like, let's examine the origins of a lot of this trauma so that we can heal.
That's real. All of that is real. And we're, again, humans. So when, like Dr. Felice was talking about the social media and the data, and everything doesn't apply because every single situation is so intricate and different. Because you may have multiple fathers of your children because you were in one relationship and had 2 children, and maybe you don't have that relationship and you got married and now you are young enough to have another baby and you had one. But that's all real. But also the stress of co-parenting with an unstable co-parent, or a co-parent who is narcissistic, or a co-parent who is trying to make things difficult for you for power or whatever, that is a real thing too. So I can definitely see how it could be super stressful having to deal with that on multiple fronts, right? It's enough if you have one guy that you're dealing with and he's doing that to you. And then I can't even imagine if you have that times 2 or 3. That is a lot. And it can really take over your whole life and be like a tsunami, or at least feel like one. I can see that. Let's see. Let's go to the comments. I see one. The last of its kind. All right, let's see. Women don't know what they want. Women are never happy no matter what. Can't never satisfy a woman. I'm so sorry, sir. Let's go to another comment. Yes. C. White said, here we go. Tiffany is entitled to her own beliefs. The problem is we as women don't know who we are and whose we are. Align yourself with who made you and he will take care of you. Seek God, not opinions. That sounds great, and I agree. But we're getting down to the fundamental issue of why. Why certain young ladies or whatever, what is the issue and how do we address that? I think that Dr. Charm, you brought up something, and Dr. Felice, you said it too, counseling. I think that one of the barriers and the obstacles is the financial aspect of like accessing counseling. I know for me, I've been looking for a therapist for a long time, and trying to go through the healthcare system and do that has literally been almost impossible to do. And unless you have time on your hands to keep on calling and trying to see if you need a pre-authorization. Sometimes you have to say you're completely depressed in order to get a referral. So how do women go about even accessing affordable therapy? And that could be for either one of you or both of you.
It's a thing, especially in Black and brown communities, right? But then you also have other layers. You have the faith layer, where a lot of people of faith don't even believe that they need therapy or should be seeking it. Then you have the stigma. A lot of people don't go because, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm crazy? Do I want people thinking I'm crazy because I'm seeing a therapist? So you've got all these layers that contribute to why people are not getting the help that they need. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot of education, but it's also opening up the door to resources. So we're going to have to depend on our nonprofits to be able to reach back and be able to help people who don't have the funds to get the help that they need. Mental health is your wealth. And so if we want to get real basic, everything that we do and all the choices that we have and that are required takes a certain level of mental capacity. Mm-hmm. And so the better your mental health, hopefully the better the choices you make. So regardless of people having babies with multiple men or whatever, everything starts with our mental. So we have to be able to make sure that we're doing all that we can to be mentally fit so that we are able to make better choices. And so it's even deeper than just women having multiple children with different baby daddies and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, because you got people who are dealing with mental health issues on way more basic than just a baby daddy and how many there are.
Right. Yes. Dr. Chen, what do you think about that?
As far as for, if people are wanting to get mental health help and they are experiencing economic challenges, thank goodness for the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, because that was back in 2008 where they made the law where mental health treatment used to be separate from general health care. And so now it's all together. So even if a person has Medicaid or Medicare, or well, Medicare is not low income, but Medicaid is definitely low income, your therapy is covered. So that it is state by state, but your therapy is absolutely covered because they're not allowed to discriminate between traditional medical care and psychiatric care. And then if somebody is uninsured, one thing that I used to do when I was, didn't have, before that law was passed where your therapy was covered, I would do universities. That was the best way because you have student teachers. So a lot of the universities will have like $20 visits, or very like sliding scale, because they're training the student teachers that are going through practicum and things like that, or to getting their psychology or social work licenses and things of that sort. And then also there's community agencies that have sliding scale, and sliding scale just means it's based on your income and what you can afford to pay. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely utilize certain programs like that when I didn't have coverage or the economics to be able to do it. And, so you can also do Psychology Today. If you have insurance and you just want to find somebody, they have photos of the physicians. You can put things like what they specialize. You can ask, I want somebody that specializes in African-American or Black people or race sensitive. And they actually have that culturally sensitive care. Somebody's LGB. They have that where you can go on Psychology Today and some of those sites and put that in. So utilize those resources. I think, and people say, I don't want, Dr. Felice, I was kind of chuckling to myself. He said, I don't want nobody to think I'm crazy. But shit, folks walking around here acting crazy. Well, damn it, you crazy. Okay, get some help so you won't be crazy.
Can we just say this? Can we just put this out here and keep putting this out here and make it a hashtag? Therapy is sexy. Let's just keep saying therapy is
okay. But what I am heartened by with this last, I say 10, 15 years since I got out of medical school, is this new generation, this Generation Z, everybody is talking about therapy and making it popular. And it's so great because my mother's generation, they won't go to a counseling. They refuse to get help and they need it. And when you need help and you don't get it, you're becoming a burden on your entire family. And they don't look at it like that. I think it's one of the most selfish things that you can do is being told by family members that you need to get help and you refuse to do it. And then they got to deal with your bullshit because you don't want to get no help. So people get help. There's nothing wrong with it. And especially, I didn't get an African-American therapist until, oh God, like 7 years ago. But it's like night and day for the cultural sensitivity of being able to have somebody who really relates. So go out there and get yourself a Black therapist, but it's there, and we need it. We really do need it.
Okay, and on that note, we are going to go to our last and final video. Let's take a look.
I kind of wish she was more specific when it comes to mental illness, because anxiety, those signs of a mother who is taking care of her children on her own, that to me is anxiety. If her focus is all over the place because she has multiple children, that would be, ADHD, adult onset, because you are taking care of other people other than you. I do get the message of soul ties, and sharing your DNA with others to the point that you are creating life at a multitude. I think we use that term so loosely. Mental issues, mental health. We use that term so loosely that it can mean anything under that umbrella. And so we got to be careful with that. We have to be careful so that we're not shaming one party. That's where I'm at. It's the responsibility on both. The only difference is I think we see the results of those actions more from women because they have the children in their care, But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, comment. I'm interested in your responses, okay? All right.
Yeah, I think that she made a great point. And the point that I think people sometimes miss is that it doesn't matter if you have one father that is the father of your child or multiple. Doing things on your own when it comes to raising children is a huge responsibility and a huge stress. Just being responsible 24/7 for another human being that is dependent on you for everything to survive is a huge stress. And I think that people are sometimes miss that fact and focus on all of these outlying, data points. But doing it by yourself and being a mom doing it by yourself is scary and a lot. And that in and of itself can create mental, anguish. What do you guys think about that? And then we can go to our final thoughts and you can tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, I think that last video helped me to see how, again, all of these conversations and how they can branch off into all these different tangents. And how does that land on regular people like us? Like, how is that supposed to land? And we all have all these opinions and it's okay. But now we've got platforms where we bombard people with all of our opinions. You know what I mean? And it's just a lot. And I don't know what I don't know. What do you expect somebody to do with all of that? But I do know that we have a responsibility to take care of one another. And how do we do that? And how do we start making sure that we see another human being properly? And for our men and our women, we have got to stop seeing each other as just these potential romantic partners and sexual companions. We're bigger than that. And so if we can just see each other a little bit better, more respectfully, and knowing that we have an obligation to leave people with dignity, we'll start refraining from all these our sexual lusts and flesh, and we'll start demonstrating more discipline because we want to be able to leave people in a better space. And we can't do that if we're multiplying the planet without a family. And so my name is Felice Hightower Britt. I am the Be Big Coach. You can find me on www.thebebigcoach.com. And I'm here for you if you ever think you need to talk and sort this stuff out.
Thank you, Felice. Dr. Charm?
Yes, I very much enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking at some of the comments from some of these Dusties in the comments, talking about, oh, you had a baby while you were in college, and that's part of the problem. You know what? I was 9 months pregnant, had my child, and went to medical school, and I'm Dr. Timms now, bitch. So I just want to say that Black women, and Black men, don't let people shame you, okay? Because we have all had lives. And I think the dawn of hypocrisy is when people try to be holier than thou and act like they didn't live. And because I lived, I'm able to be a healing vessel and help my patients. And so I want to say that you can find me at spiritualcharm.com if you want to get a psychic medium reading, tarot, or astrology reading. My IG is at charmgirl77. I'm also a stand-up comedian. I'm coming to a city near you. I don't have any shows lined up quite yet, but if you follow me on Instagram, you can always see when I have a show, and I always drop funny skits and things of that sort. And I'm so glad to have been here with this illustrious panel of ladies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charm. So my final thought is real quick, like real succinct, real quick. This is such a layered conversation, and there's so many different data points and insights and things that go into why people do what they do, human behavior and societal structures and things like that. But my thing is, like, how can we build communities where women and children are valued no matter what the family looks like? That's my question. That's my final thought. I am Shalaye, CEO and founder of Vital Source Realty. I am in Boston, Massachusetts, but I can help you buy or sell a home or a property anywhere in the continental United States or Canada. And you can find me on Instagram at Shalaye Camillo and visit our website at vitalsourcerealty.com. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me. Joining us. That was a super powerful conversation. And we touched on everything from mental health to judgment in our community. And it's clear, one thing is clear, that we need more support for women and children, no matter what the family looks like, okay? Let's keep fighting against these harmful stereotypes and empowering each other to break free from judgment. Thank you for tuning in to Fly Nubian Money. And until next time, keep building, keep healing, and keep thriving. We'll see you.
Bye, Dusties.